Good morning, boys and girls. It's good to be with you again today. I hope that you're all doing well and that you have your Bible story book. We're going to be doing another story today about a boy by the name of Joseph. But before we tell that story, I want to tell you about his great-grandfather. His name was Abraham. Do you see the picture that I'm holding before you today? It's Abraham. And as you look at the picture, you could see that it's nighttime, and all around him are the stars in the sky. Now, many, many years after Noah, Abraham lived. And like Noah, he believed in God. He was a follower of God. And God came to Abraham one day and said, "Abraham, I'm going to bless you in a special way." To be blessed by God is to know God's favor, that God is working good in your life. And God told Abraham, "You're going to be a special man. I'm going to make you the father of a wonderful nation. You're going to be the father of my people." And those people would be the Jewish people. And the land that God would give them would be eventually called Israel. But God said to Abraham, "I'm going to lead you and take you to this land. And in many years that follow, your people will grow in number, and you will be a great nation. You will be my people." And God said, "Look at the night sky. See all those stars? See all those stars, boys and girls? Well, the number of people in your nation is going to be greater in number than those stars in the sky. Because, Abraham, I'm going to work good in your life." And so now we're going to get to the story of Joseph. Joseph was the great-grandson of Abraham. And the number of people that God had promised was growing. Because Joseph's mom and dad had 12 sons. 12 sons! And Joseph was one of them. And their father's name was Jacob. But you know, for Jacob, he had a favorite son. Now, for your mom and dad, they don't have favorites. If you have brothers and sisters, they love each of you. Each of you is very special to them. But Jacob favored his son Joseph. And one day, to show his favoritism, he gave him a beautiful coat. A beautiful, beautiful coat. The other brothers did not receive that. Only Joseph. So the other brothers were jealous of Joseph. Why should he get something special and we don't? To make matters worse, Joseph had dreams at night. Do you ever have dreams, boys and girls? Well, Joseph did. And those dreams Joseph had came from God. And one day he told his dad and he told his mother and he told his brothers, "I had a dream last night. And there was the sun and the moon and 11 stars, and you all bowed down to me." "What?" said his dad. "What?" said his brothers. "Do you think you're better than all of us?" Because the sun represented the dad, the moon represented the mother, and the stars represented the brothers. "Do you think you're better than us, that we're going to bow down to you?" So they were angry with their brother. One day, the brothers were out tending the sheep that the father owned, and Joseph was at home. And his dad said to him, "Go check on your brothers and see how they're doing in caring for the sheep." So Joseph went, and he came upon his brothers. And when he came upon them, they saw him coming and said, "Let's get rid of him. He's nothing but trouble. He's got a special coat. His dad favors him. He says we're going to bow down to him. Let's get rid of him." So they captured Joseph when he came, and they threw him into a deep well, and they took his special coat off of him. And they tore it like a wild animal would have torn a coat. And they put animal blood on it like it was his. And then they sold Joseph into slavery. They sold him as a slave. A slave means that you belong to somebody else, and that person tells you what to do. And they sold Joseph into slavery. And they took the coat back to the father and pretended that Joseph was dead and that a wild animal had killed him. But Joseph was now in another land as a slave. And then as a slave, he was accused of a false crime. They accused him of something wrong that he did not do. And he ended up in prison. But God still loved him. And God was with him. And Pharaoh, he's the leader of this land in which Joseph now lived. It was called Egypt. Pharaoh had a dream. And he brought Joseph before him because Joseph interpreted dreams. He had his own dreams from God, and he could tell the meaning of dreams. In Pharaoh's dreams, there were 7 cows. Oh, they were big, fat cows. And then there were 7 other cows. Oh, they were the skinniest cows you ever saw. And the 7 skinny cows ate those 7 big, fat cows. But you know what? After they ate those big, fat cows, they were just as skinny as before. And Pharaoh says, "What does this mean?" And Joseph says, "Here's God's meaning. In your land, there are going to be 7 years when the crops are going to grow. The wheat that you make bread from is going to grow. It's going to grow abundantly. You're going to have better crops than you've ever had before. But then following that, you're going to have 7 years of drought. There's going to be no rain. Nothing will grow. You'll have no crops. So I advise you to take these 7 years that are going to be plentiful. Take some of that grain. Put it away. Keep it in buildings where you could keep it safe, so that when there are the 7 years where nothing grows, you'll still have something to eat." And Pharaoh says, "That's a good plan." And he took Joseph out of prison, and he made him the special man who carried out this plan. And the years of famine came. And Joseph's dad and brothers, they were starving too, because there was nothing growing. And they ended up coming to Egypt, where Joseph was. And Joseph forgave his brothers. Did you hear that, boys and girls? Joseph forgave his brothers. And he invited his father and brothers to live in that land so that they would have enough to eat in that time when nothing was growing. That's God's plan, boys and girls. Even when difficult times happen in our lives, as it did for Joseph, when he was sold as a slave, when he was thrown into prison, God still can work good. And God used Joseph, bringing him into that position where he was administering, caring for all that grain so people could eat, so that his father and brothers could eat too. God works good in our lives, even when bad things happen. And God asks us to do what Joseph did toward his brothers. When somebody does wrong for us, we are to forgive them because God forgives us. Enjoy your lesson this